G'day mate, welcome to my team. This is Chloe. We are together, fall in love with our true selves. So imagine this. A madman taps 5 innocent people to a tram track, and a runaway tram is speeding towards them. Lucky for you, you have the power to pull a lever and divert the tram to another track. But wait, there is a catch. The madman also tied one person to that another track. Now you have 2 choices. Do nothing and let the tram hit the 5 people, or pull the lever and divert it, which would mean it hit the 1 person instead. This is the classic philosophical thought experiment, the trolley problem. For decades, utilitarianism and deontology have been argued over whether to pull the lever or not. But today, we're not here to dive deep into philosophy. Instead, I'm curious, what would you choose? If you choose option 1, not pulling the lever, you're likely an empath, siding with Kant deontology. You uphold absolute moral principles, believing that even pulling the lever saves 5 lives, violating the rule of never killing is unacceptable. If you choose option 2, pulling the lever, you're likely an aesthete, leaning towards Benson's utilitarianism, where the idea is to maximize good for the most people. Sacrificing 1 to save 5 is same as the moral decision. Today, let's dive into Kant and Benson as we explore the best way to understand empaths and aesthetes. Neither Kant or Benson ever took the MBTI test, but judging by the core ideas of deontology and utilitarianism, it's perfectly fitting to call their respective schools the N-person and S-person schools. The N-person's deontology never takes the real-world consequences into account when making decisions. In the trolley problem, they overlook details like 4 more lives are saved, focusing solely on natural laws and ultimate virtue. As Kant famously put it, 2 things fill the mind with every new admiration at all, the starry heavens above and the moral law within. Utilitarianism, as represented by S-persons, is more pragmatic, holding that the interests of 5 people outweigh the interests of 1. Bentham, the quintessential advocate of this philosophy, dedicated his life to maximizing utility, even extending this principle to his remains after death. His body is preserved at UCL, the University College London. Whenever there's a tie in major decisions made by the board trustees, Bentham is called upon to cast the deciding vote in favor of innovation, aligning with his belief in promoting the greater good for the community. N and S represent 2 distinct ways of perceiving the world, offering different perspectives on how we understand our surroundings and interact with the natural and social environment. Kant and Benson serve as extreme representatives of these types. While most N-persons and S-persons find themselves somewhere in between, Jung classified perception into 2 main categories: sensory perception and intuitive perception. He noted that some people heavily rely on their sensory organs, like their eyes, ears, mouth, nose, and hands, focusing intensely on the tangible material world. He refers to these individuals as S-type or S-persons. In contrast, Jung introduced the intuition type or N-persons. These individuals aren't confined to what they can physically sense. Instead, they prefer to dive into deeper concepts and theories. While they may overlook details, they have vivid imaginations and can recognize underlying connections and causes behind scenes. People often say that N-persons see the forest, getting lost in the abstract concepts in their minds, while S-persons focus on the trees, keenly aware of changes in their environment. These differing perspectives shape how they approach problems in many areas of life. In the love episode of MBTI, we discussed how S-persons are drawn to beautiful appearances, believing that love without a material foundation is like a heap of loose sand, and that relationships without the prospect of marriage are immoral. In contrast, N-persons value interesting souls, trust the magical of love at first sight, and believe that love can sustain them through hardships. They aren't deterred by challenges in their romantic journeys and seek passionate, intense connections. The differences between sensing and intuition also show up in subtleties of everyday life. If you give a rose to an S person and an N person and ask them to share their thoughts, the S person will likely compliment its fragrance and color, describe the shape and structure of the petals, and might even tell you about the various types of roses and their growing conditions. In contrast, the N person might respond, "This flower reminds me of a date of my first love when I was 16. What an exciting time that was! In my parents' garden filled with the rose blah blah blah." Their attitudes towards time and rational thinking also differ. S-type value immediate possibilities, while N-types focus on future prospects. S-types consider what's feasible, whereas N-types ponder what's possible. As a result, N-types are more drawn to theoretical research and developing new ideas, while S-types prioritize proving experiences and knowledge. Consequently, N-types often find their interests in academic fields like philosophy, psychology, law, literature, and art, and they thrive in creative roles. In contrast, S-types excel in areas such as medicine, geology, archaeology, and engineering, as well as industries involving tangible objects like taxation, banking, agriculture, and handicrafts. After discussing all these points, does it mean that N-types are merely dreams floating in the clouds, while S-types are rigid realists? In reality, there's no right or wrong between the two perception types, intuition and sense. I like to think of this way. They experience life differently and gather unique perspectives on their journey, and all of them are beautiful. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell for updates on latest content and psychology insights. In future episodes, we will continue to explore the topics of emotions and interaction. Thanks for watching and stay tuned. See ya! Bye bye!